Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Tuesday, January 5th, 2016. We have a couple guests that will join us to lead us in the pledge. Please join us for the pledge. Hi, guys. Left hand, there we go.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we go, why don't you turn and face the camera and tell us who you are and why you're here, and then we'll start the meeting.
I'm Jacob Stark. This is Joseph Stark, my brother. We're just here to serve the city council meeting for requirement in our citizenship in the nation badge. So it's a pleasure to be here, I guess.
Perfect. Thanks, Jacob.
Are you being punished, or?
That's a quick one, at least.
You did really well for letting me put you on the spot, so thank you. If you could call the roll, please.
Councilmember Clint. Here. Councilmember Manning.
Here.
Councilmember Demmer.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson. Mayor Cook.
Here.
One absent, Johnson.
All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
This doesn't actually constitute a change, right? We're in good shape? Okay. We have I'm sorry, I missed that. So it was motion by Manning, second by Demmer to adopt the agenda. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And the agenda is adopted. The first item on our agenda this evening is to designate a council secretary, and this is an annual procedure, and since 1994, we have been working with Time Saver Offsite Secretarial, and it looks like there's just a little bump of about 2.25% in what they charge. Everything else looks the same. So we're just looking for a motion on that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Geisler.
make a motion to adopt Resolution 16-2 designating Time Saver Off-Site Secretarial, Inc. as Council Secretary for 2016 and approving the addendum to Recording Secretary Service Agreement.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Wells. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. The next item on our agenda is to adopt our rules of procedure. And we're not actually changing anything from previous years. The city manager will be authorized to prepare a list of consent agenda items, but the mayor or any council member may request that a particular consent agenda item be removed from the consent list and placed on the regular agenda. And, yeah, it's all the same. Okay. Councilor Demmer.
I would move to adopt Resolution 16-3, establishing council rules of procedure, and adopt the addendum to Resolution 16-3, definitions and explanations of city council order of business.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Manning. Any discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the designation of the official newspaper. And the Anoka County Union Herald has submitted a proposal to serve as the city's legal newspaper for 2016. The publication rates will remain the same as in 2015, and the Herald meets all requirements for serving as the legal newspaper.
Should we make Peter talk about this so he can report on what he says?
I don't think so. I don't even think Peter's paying attention to you right now.
Peter's always
Good
paying
choice.
attention.
Your Honor,
Councilor Clint?
I move adoption of Resolution 16-4 designating the Anoka County Union Herald as the official newspaper for 2016.
Second.
Motion by Clint, second by Wells. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 4, council appointments. Each year we appoint members to represent the city in several organizations. And is there somebody that has a motion with all these written out now? Probably not. So right now, we're looking at, so are we going to add alternates to the, oh, Mr. Stemwedel.
I was just going to make a quick note. I think as it says in the letter here, that the ones that are there were based on appointments that were held over from last year. I did receive a call from Councilmember Johnson this afternoon who did express some interest in being named at least an alternate in the two public safety-related appointments that would be Joint Law Enforcement Council and the Fire Protection Council, if the rest of the council felt that was appropriate. He asked me to relay that, and so I'm doing so.
Your Honor,
Counselor Manning?
as previously stated, I would, I've talked to Councilman Denmer, and he's said he's willing to be the Anoka.
Excited, not just willing, excited.
Excited. He's willing and excited to be the Anoka County Community Edge Advisory Council. I would be the alternate on that. Wade would take the head part, and I would like to be the head on the North Star Corridor Development Authority.
Okay. Any objection to that? All right. So if you want to make those notes? Oh, Counselor Geisler?
Since I wasn't here last year with appointments, so the one that I would be interested in participating in, I know it's really staff right now, but would be the LOGIS, the Local Government Information Systems, to act either as an alternate as well to that committee.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
Let the minutes reflect that the city manager is nodding his head. Okay. All right, so do we have all those written down? So do we need to list those out now, or can we just run through the motions as,
Your Honor,
Counselor Manning?
I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
I'd like to move adoption of Resolution 16-5, 16-6, 16-7, 16-8, 16-9, 16-10, 16-11, and 16-12.
Second. I thought you were going to say everyone's names.
That's, well, in previous years, that's how it's been, but,
Well, I mean, you were asking if we could just run through them,
Yeah,
and so
I
I
think we're
said I
good.
would.
yeah.
Would agree.
Are we all get, okay with that? Okay. A
As
motion by
amended.
Manning and a second by Clint. Is there any discussion, Counselor?
I just have
Dever?
a procedure question. Some of these say things like, E says appointing 2 members and alternate, and we only have 1 person on the list. So I think we would just have to clean up the language
I'll be-
based on what we're actually appointing.
You'll be an alternate.
Unless we can fill those all out, yeah.
Mr. Mayor will take care of that.
Your Honor,
Counselor Clint?
could I just ask that we contact these different committees to get the right person? Because I was getting out things last year then, and I wasn't on it anymore.
Your Honor,
Counselor Manning?
would you prefer that I read the names of who's on each committee? I will do that if,
I think we're fine, I think, as long as
okay.
the clerk knows, we're fine. Any other discussion?
Your Honor, just,
Counselor Wells?
I'm sure Mr. Himmer probably knows, but the Swan Super Rink is having a meeting next week, at least tentatively scheduled. Are you on that list, or?
Councilmember Wells, I pitched it for you last year, and that's the extent of my involvement. I'm not on any of the mailing lists.
Your Honor,
Counselor Clint?
does that one need an alternate then? Because I would be an alternate on that one.
And that one is actually is one that's 2 members and an alternate, and we only have 1 member appointed, correct?
Well, I'd be willing to.
Historically, we've had a staff member on that committee.
That would be historically our second,
Well, yes.
okay, so an elected and a staff.
I'll take it.
And an alternate.
Okay. Was there anything left hanging there, or is that resolved now? Okay, good.
So we're all okay amending our motions and stuff with the change to those names?
All right.
I got it, thank you.
Ms. Lensmeyer, are you okay? Are we all right?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe we've got it, and if not, I can listen to the tape.
Okay. Or that high-paid secretarial service.
Right? Perfect. We've got it.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 5 on our agenda is the board and commission appointments. Serving a very important service for the city is all of our boards and commissions, and we need to reappoint a few and designate chairs for some, or for each commission. We're looking at 5 vacancies. We still have 5 vacancies on the Arts Commission. We're making an appointment of Mary Ann Keene as chair, Louis Peterson, Charlie Pitts, Elaine Stalk, and Jim Allwelling are all reappointments. On the Board of Adjustment and Appeals, we're reappointing and designating the chair as Erin Vandelindy and reappointing Ron Bradley. On the Charter Commission, those appointments occur in March. Civil Service Commission, oh, look at him go. Bruce Sanders, chair now. And then reappointing Al Hofstad. Historical Commission, appointing Lyle Goff as chair, and then reappointing Bill Peterson, Luann Koskinen, and Robert Powell, and Ron Wendell. And then on the Park and Rec Commission, reappointing Tim Arnson and designating him chair. And then reappointing Michael Jacobson, Tim Matchkey, and Jen Sand. The Planning Commission, we still have 1 vacancy on there. We're looking at reappointing Wayne Schwartz and designating him the chair, and then reappointing Denise Hosch and Julia Stevens. We have 2 vacancies on the Safety Commission. We're looking at appointing Bob Johnson chair, and then reappointing Al Hofstad, Amit Circusar, and Ethan Yang. And then on the Sustainability Commission, appointing Stacy Demmer as chair, and then reappointing Ed Dedman and Robert Cran, and then appointing Tim Lochgren. That appears to be everything for those. Counselor Demmer.
Move to adopt resolution 1613, 1614, 1615, 1616, 1617, 1618, 1619, and 1620, doing all those things you just said.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Geisler. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries, and you are all back on, and we appreciate everything that you do.
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Geisler.
One quick thing. So if we had several vacancies, are people on our website, can they look to be, if they're interested in serving on a commission, contact the city and get your name in an application?
Yes, that would be great.
We'd be very happy to have you come help.
All right. That was a yes, we need help, and yes, it's all on the website. All right. Item 6 on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the December 15th City Council meeting.
Your Honor, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Wells, second by Manning. Any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
I abstain.
That motion approves with 2 abstentions, Councilors Geisler and Clint. All right.
Your Honor,
Councilor
it's a
Manning.
technicality, but can we approve of something with only 3 affirmative votes?
Good 4.
Oh, we did? Oh, I thought, never mind.
Math is hard.
I've had too much water to drink.
Okay. Now we are on to our consent agenda. And the first item on our consent agenda is to approve the purchase of a walk-behind sweeper. Our 2016 golf budget included a Bobcat arm sweeper attachment, and we've decided that we want a walk-behind instead, huh, Mr. Anderson? So the money is in the budget, and it's just designating a walk-behind instead of the Bobcat one. We're looking at authorizing the purchase of a walk-behind sweeper in the amount of $3,750 plus sales tax in lieu of the Bobcat arm/sweeper. Item 8 is adopt resolution 16-21, establishing the Bunker Hills Golf Course fees and charges. And, you know, it's on the consent, so it really isn't part of the discussion, but kudos, Mr. Anderson, for holding the rates for next year. Very little changes. Consent agenda item number 9 is to approve option 3 of the retro-rated plans with the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance Trust for 2016 workers' compensation coverage. And I think that's the longest subject we've had on one of our agenda items. And apparently this is the one that's going to work the best out of the 3. And it's going to run somewhere between, is that our range? Somewhere between 123 and $1.8 million?
Yes. There's a lot of incentive to control costs because you pay a base fee and the claims are added on top of that. So there is a maximum and then there is a minimum, however.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And then our last item on our agenda is to approve the Hillcrest Animal Impound Contract Renewal. And we're looking at the 2016 contract for impound services with Hillcrest Animal Hospital as listed on the attachment, and it looks like their rates went up just a little bit. But we are not anticipating planning or changing what we get. The city gets $42 for a impounded animal. In order to encourage people to pick their animals up, we are not going to raise that. And that's everything on the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Geisler.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Wells. Was there any questions or clarifications? Counselor Manning?
Just one question. On the restricted times for the daily fees and regulation course, what are those restricted times? It shows a lesser amount for the 18 holes for the senior patron and also for the 9 holes for senior patron. And it says during restricted times.
Councilmember Manning, Mayor, the restricted times for juniors and seniors are the same. So it's Monday through Friday before 11, and then Friday through Sunday after 4.
Okay.
Outside of those those restricted times, you get the regular patron rate. So you get the senior rate at those restricted times, and outside those times, you get the regular patron rate. So you still get a discount. Those folks would still get a discount.
Okay. Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that consent agenda is approved. Item 11 is to authorize the application for the 2016 Community Development Block Grant Program. And part of that will be holding a public hearing and taking public comment. Ms. Bennett, is there anything you'd like to talk about on this, or is there anybody, staff, before we open the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor, council members, I really have nothing to add beyond what my report is, but I would, for the benefit of the audience, say that for a number of years, the city has used their community development block grant funds, which are federal funds, to support a low, moderate income home improvement program for Coon Rapids residents. And they can borrow up to $25,000 for needed home improvements. Half of that is forgiven after a period of time. We also, with these funds, fund an energy program for low and moderate income households so they can make energy saving improvements for their homes. And that's totally forgiven after a period of time.
And they're not all that restrictive. I mean, it's like up to 80% of the median income on at least one of these programs, right?
It's a little over $65,000 annual income for a household of 4, yes.
Okay. All right. So the first thing we need to do is hold a public hearing and take public comment on the application for the Community Development Block Grant Funds for the program year 2016. So I will open the public hearing. Is anybody here to address council for the public hearing for the CDBG grant? Because that's redundant. Seeing nobody here to address council, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion from the council.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Geisler, thank you.
I would make a motion to authorize the application for the Community Development Block Grant Funds for program year 2016 for a housing rehabilitation program, and authorize the mayor and city manager to execute a CDBG program agreement together with any other necessary documents with Anoka County regarding the implementation of the 2016 CDBG program.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Clint. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? And that motion carries. And item 12, for the last time for several years, right? We're going to consider resolution number 16-6 sub 9, awarding a contract for the 2016 sanitary sewer lining program. And this is our last year of the old stuff, and then we'll have a little break until we have to start lining the newer stuff, right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. There is an alternate within here that includes kind of looking at those options, which I'm recommending that we do. We do have dollars carried forward from previous years to cover those additional costs, because it's slightly above what was budgeted for 2016.
So we're looking at, okay, so the alternate, 1,177,366.40. Oh, no, which is a total minus the cleaning and televising. So we're looking at the 1,246,947.
1,233, 366.40.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay, all right. I'm gonna stop talking numbers now because I've gone from the reduced bid to your estimate to now, you did really good on your estimate, that was really close. All right,
Yeah, it makes me feel better that I couldn't add the 4. Your Honor,
Counselor Manning,
I will move adoption of Resolution 16-6 sub 9.
Second. Excuse me, second.
motion by Manning, second by Clint. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 13 on the agenda is to consider resolution number 15-20 sub 8, accepting plans and specs for the 2016 park redevelopment projects and authorizing solicitation of bids. And this will be for the 2016 park redevelopment projects of Mason Park, Delta, Pheasant Ridge, and Woodcrest Parks. And we have an alternate on this one too we need to talk about, right, Mr. Emmer?
Mr. Mayor, there are several alternates on this one, from ADA parking, some trail connections, but there's one alternate, and I'm still kind of working through that, even leading up to this meeting here, and that's the warming house at Woodcrest. And it appears as if we can get a kind of precast, drop-in-place structure for about the same cost as what it would take to refurbish this. Again, we're still crunching those numbers on where we are with the budget. I'm feeling that we bid it as an alternate anyway, just to see where we end up, because we're pretty close up against that $1.4 million for these parks. So it's an alternate. We can make that choice at a later date. I just want to make sure we're not getting too far ahead of ourselves, because we still have construction administration to go on this, as well as a little bit of wetland mitigation. So I want to make sure the funds are covered. But I should know before the ads hit the streets this Friday where that's at. And I can't say for certain, but I'm pretty sure that we'll have that out there as an alternate, and you'll be able to make that decision at the time of bidding, or at the time of award.
Councilor Manning?
When you say drop-in-place structure, what would that structure look like?
Councilman Manning, you might see them say in the state parks, they're just kind of a prefabbed building that has a men's and a woman's. Maybe there's a drinking fountain in the middle. We had always intended to maybe take down the old building and leave the slab and put up kind of a separation wall and have a drinking fountain on one side and maybe Biff's on the other. It looks like you can get a structure like that for about $45,000 to $50,000, but then there are the costs to drop it in place and do the plumbing connection. So I think we're going to be in that $70,000 ballpark. But there are some other alternates that you might choose. For example, some additional parking on Pheasant Ridge, you might say these bathrooms are more important than that, and then we have some decisions to make at that time.
So this is just kind of authorizing the next step.
Authorizing to bid, but this was kind of the one item that we hadn't really closed the loop on yet, and I just wanted to keep you updated on where we were at.
Counselor Demmer?
Just one request, assuming we vote yes. If we do alternate bids like that, if possible, an estimate of maintenance costs for the different options, so it's not just the construction cost. I have no idea if maintaining two BIFs, assuming they get burned down and tipped over once in a while, is more expensive than maintaining a building, or if maintaining the building's a lot more expensive. So just something to consider as we're trying to figure out the option, because I'd rather spend a little more upfront if the long-term cost is lower.
Got it, thank you.
With that,
Counselor Demmer?
I would move to adopt Resolution 15-20 Sub 8, accepting plans and specifications for the 2016 park redevelopment projects and authorize the solicitation of bids as stated here.
Second.
Motion by Demmer, second by Manning. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 14 on our agenda is to consider award of a construction management contract for County Project 15-15 intersection improvement at Northdale Boulevard and Redwood Street. So this is for that redevelopment of that intersection there, and basically we're turning over the management to WSB. Okay. Looking at an amount of $150,193 for that.
Your Honor,
Counselor Manning.
I move approval of awarding the construction management contract to WSB and Associates, Inc.
Second.
Motion by Manning and a second by Clint to award that management contract in the amount of $150,193 for the intersection improvements at Northdale Boulevard and Redwood Street, City Project 15-15. That's it, County Project, City Project 15-15. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 15 is to consider resolution number 15-16 sub 8, accepting plans and specs for Sand Creek Park building package and authorizing solicitation of bids. Mr. Himmer, you want to just hit the highlights on that? It looks like, well, I'll just hit the highlights on this one.
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This will be the second time we go out on this. If you recall, first round, I think we had bids around 1.5 million. Masonry seemed to be the big item on that, so we've since gone and looked at other exterior materials. So we will be bidding it with that architectural metal, some other types of accent materials, as well as doing an alternate for a masonry veneer of that structure. So we're estimating somewhere in the 1.1 range on this, and we're getting out there in a better environment, and hopefully we'll get some better numbers, and we'll be able to come back to you here in about 6 weeks and look to award a contract and get that going, along with the intersection improvements and finishing the park.
Excellent. Counselor?
If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Cameron?
there was also the recommendation for the additional redesign fees. We had talked about that previously in work session, and I have since been using construction admin dollars to keep this going. But now that we're moving into this phase, the dollars are spent, so we either need to supplement from an inspection side on the back end, or try to self-perform on some of those items, which could be difficult.
So we're looking at authorizing an additional $23,000 in redesign fees to supplement the construction administration funds previously utilized.
That's correct.
Okay. Counselor Manning.
I move adoption of resolution number 15-16 sub 8, and also approval of an additional $23,000 in redesign fees.
Second.
Motion by Manning, second by Clint. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Counselor Geisler?
Just a question. So the additional 23, is that coming from the park referendum funds?
No, Councilmember Geisler, that is also the facility construction
Okay,
fund. That's
just
the
to make
total
sure.
funding for this project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 16 is a little annual housekeeping, designating depositories and investment collateral management procedures. Chapter 118A of the Minnesota statute sets forth the requirements for the deposit of public funds and the management of collateral, and we will be designating Wells Fargo Bank Minnesota N.A. as the official depository and authorize the manager of accounting / treasurer or finance director to designate additional depositories for investment purposes, approve wire transfer agreements with the depositories, and manage the collateral as prescribed by state statute.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Geisler.
make a motion to adopt Resolution 16-1, designating the depositories and investment collateral management procedures.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Wells. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. We are at the open mic public comment. All right, I'm gonna read the introduction then. I see somebody getting up. Open mic provides an opportunity for the public to address the city council on subjects that are not part of the regular meeting agenda. The public is invited to express any concerns they may have which are relevant to the affairs, policies, or practices of the city of Coon Rapids. And the remarks will be limited to 3 minutes. And then just please state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, council members, greetings. I'm Wes Volkanen. I'm a resident of Andover, 1482 158th Lane Northwest. I come to you talking about 3 elections. First, I am serving currently as the Senate District 35 DFL Chair, and I wanted to remind not only yourselves, but the Coon Rapids residents that we have a primary election coming up a week from today on the 12th of January. At this time, it's just the Republican candidates who will be contesting in the primary contest. The following month, in February, on the 9th of February, there will be a special Senate election for the winner of the Republican primary, for the DFL candidate, and a gentleman from the Marijuana Now party, which is on the ballot. Those individuals are seeking to serve Senate District 35 for the term that's coming up now for calendar year 2016. Whoever wins will have to run for re-election, presumably, come November. I wanted to remind the people who live in Councilmember Clint's precincts that they have a new polling place. They are going to the sheriff's office at 133rd and Hanson for both precincts 1 and 2. And then I also wanted to greet all of you as the announced candidate for the House District 35B seat, which is currently held by Peggy Scott. I'm going to be seeking the DFL endorsement to challenge Representative Scott this fall, and that would, of course, be our election coming up in November. And I wanted to say hello to all of you and to let you know I'm going to try and stop, be part of your business. I've got a Ramsey precinct. There are also most of the Andover precincts, so I'm going to try and make the rounds on various Tuesday nights of the city council chambers. But if I see you, I wanted you to recognize who I was and understand that I'm trying to also be in touch with what is happening in your community as well. I grew up in Coon Rapids. I moved here when I was 3 years old. My mother was a teacher in the Anoka-Hennepin district. We lived on 109th in Norway, and I have very fond memories. Still participate in the Facebook group if you grew up in Coon Rapids, and it's one of my favorite stops. So this is home for me. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, anybody else for open mic? Nobody will close that portion. We don't have any reports on previous open mics. And we're up to other business.
Your Honor,
Counselor Manning.
I just wanted to mention that on the bridge over near Riverdale, where the figures, the art figures are, they're rusting. As I was going by, I noticed a lot of rust on those, and I'm wondering if there may be a time when they need some fixing.
Could I add on to that? While we're looking at those art structures up there, could we look at the banners? You know, there's all those things up there for banners on those light poles. And I would love us at some point to look at those lights. You know, we've got those nice LED lights that look just like, you know, they're the matching China hat, whatever those themed lantern, thank you, lantern. not a hat. We've got the ones down at Gateway Drive that are, they're the same appearance, but they're LED, and when they work, they put out all kinds of light. But those ones on Main Street through Riverdale, they're so dark. They just let one little cone of light out underneath, waiting for Fred Astaire to come out and do his little dance under the light there.
Gene Kelly.
Gene Kelly, thank you.
I'm a little older than you.
All right, good clarification. All right, so those are my two additions to that Riverdale strip. Any other business? Wow. Mr. Stemwell.
I'll add just one thing. Due to the primary election next Tuesday, we had planned to shift council work session to next Wednesday. At this point, it doesn't look like we're going to need to have that work session. The items that we were planning to, that the timeline's just not going to be right for next Wednesday. So my thought would be the one item that we were talking about, we were going to give you an update potentially on the Hanson Boulevard grade separation project. We could do that at a pre-council meeting, the second meeting in January, and the other items can wait to later work session. So at this point, plan to cancel that. I'll send a confirmation of that tomorrow, and we'll put that in the Friday memo as well, but just wanted to give you a heads up that at this point, just doesn't, I'd rather not bring you all together for a 20, 30-minute meeting next week if we can just push some of those things back, so.
How soon could we look at a proposal? I know that the county has a preferred option, shifting Hanson a little to the east, and they've got some properties that they're planning on acquiring for that. How soon can we have a meeting with council and looking at those plans and figuring out if there's gonna be tunnels, you know, and kind of that whole plan, because you know, we haven't signed off on it, and I don't want us to wait until all of a sudden, here it is, take it or leave it. So,
Mr. Mayor and Council, that would be the plan for the meeting, the second meeting in January, is we'd lay out those plans, kind of describe, to the extent we know at this point, the pieces that we need to be taken, and the preferred option. There was a process a couple of years ago that identified this preferred option that we're operating under. But now is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Hammer, now would be a good time to present that back to you, and for those discussion items that you have concerns about or desires for, we could try to incorporate those going forward. So I don't know if, Tim, if you have anything else to add to that.
I'll just add briefly that we did go through this consultant selection. I met with the county yesterday. It sounds as if it'll be in front of their transportation board tomorrow and in front of their entire board by the end of the month, and we could be starting on design on this thing in early February. So it's timely in that I had talked to Matt about it, that we get this in front of you. I had heard there were some concerns with kind of some access issues. So I'd like to kind of present to you how we arrived at the alternative that's there, understand what your concerns are, and take those to the group as we plan over the next several months. There'll be several open houses, and there'll be opportunities for those consultants to come here to the council meeting. So it's an aggressive schedule, but by December of 2016, the intent is to have construction drawings ready and be ready to build this thing in 17 if the funds become available.
okay. Mr. Piper, how we doing? Or, How are we doing on those funds? Since you're kind of our lead guy down there.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I think things are going the right direction. I mean, as you're well aware of, the county's Transportation Improvement Board, Anoka County, BNSF, the city, we're all on board for roughly 50% of the funding. The other 50% is what we're asking from the state legislature. Both the Senate Bonding Committee and the House Bonding Committee have been in Coon Rapids, and we made our presentation. We're happy with the way it went. Now, the session will start on March 8th, and I believe it has to be over by March 23rd. So in that time frame, we're hoping we get the nod for the $12.2 roughly million from the state and be ready to go, as Mr. Himmer said, for construction in 17. We're optimistic.
Nice. All right. Questions, other business? Do we have the dates for Snowflake Days yet?
We do, it was in today's.
I'm sorry, or maybe, we've got another meeting, I guess we can talk about it then. I just thought it would be timely and others,
It was in today's newspaper.
I didn't make it
I
that far.
don't remember.
Okay, so good. So you should have gotten your quarterly newsletter, and the Snowflake dates are in that. Okay, good. Yes, Matt.
It appears that they are January 28th to February 14th. Oh, yeah, February 14th.
Okay, because I know there's another GB Layton, Tim Mahoney concert, I know, and a lot of things going on. Oh, in the NHL, the NHL All-Stars, retirees, the alumni are going to be playing the, what are the, Guns and Hoses?
Gunslinger in North.
Is that it?
Yes.
I don't remember when that is. That's January 31st or something. All right, a lot of fun stuff coming up. We'll have more specifics at the next meeting. How's that? Any other business? Hearing none, we accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Manning, second by Demmer. All in favor of adjourning, signify by saying aye.
You'll be
Aye.
by the time that game is done.
No way. Wow.